Hey everybody, it's Mitt. Welcome back to the channel. We are talking about another Palantir video that came out today. Actually not today, December 15th, a couple days ago, integrating the construction supply chain Catalyst DI plus Palantir. I saw this video, I'm reacting to it in real time. I always like to do the real-time reactions just to give you guys my raw thoughts. I saw that they uploaded this video about 6 days ago, but I didn't do a reaction to it because I was doing a bunch of other videos and talking about a bunch of other updates, because this company is trying to get themselves out there and scale, and that's why they're putting out all these videos. But today we're going to do a reaction to this video. So we're going to do a couple things. Number one, we're going to react to this video. I think it obviously has something to do with Foundry and supply chain optimization plus with data. I did a video on how they're optimizing supply chain, and I reacted to one of their core videos on their channel about supply chain. But this is a specific case study with another company, it seems, called Catalyst DI. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to react to it, and then we're going to analyze what this means overall for the company and for the stock. They've been putting video after video out into the world because they truly believe they've got something that is ready to scale. So excited to look at it. First time raw reaction. Promise I've not watched this before. My raw thoughts while I watched it. If you haven't watched it, sit back, get some popcorn, let's watch it, and let's see what this company is trying to do with supply chain optimization.
Everyone at Catalyst is using Foundry.
My name's Brett Rogers. I founded Catalyst Digital Infrastructure in February of 2021. We were funded to integrate the supply chain in a way that the design and construction community would benefit. I originally started to think about this problem in probably September 2018. I was running around $8 billion of work within my team at the time, and we ended up having a tremendous disruption to the projects that we were delivering from a very mundane component. And as we started to study what was causing those delays, we found out that we controlled something like 50 to 60% of the world's supply chain for that particular component.
Okay, so that's we got to talk about that. So he said that they're managing $8 billion of work within their particular supply chain company that or supply chain work that they're doing for a company, and they are realizing that there's a mundane component. That means there's a small thing that's reducing their efficiency and effectiveness. So they're realizing, okay, there's this little issue that's really not important, but it's stopping us from being more productive. And then they realize they're controlling a lot of the world's supply chain within this one thing that is mundane in this one sector. So that's really interesting. And the reason this can happen is because a lot of companies that work in supply chain, they control a lot of different things. Like supply chain is this one thing where, like, to get a product to go from A to B to C to D to the end at Z, there's a lot of middlemen and intermediaries and people that are revolved in the process. So if they're controlling something that a lot of the world uses, and it can be a very small material that like just a lot of the world needs, right? Semiconductors is a good example. Then it seems like they could have a massive impact on the world, even if they're a small company, given the nature of how supply chain operates.
Realized that integrating the supply chain, which is enormously disaggregated in our industry, and getting them onto a common platform became tremendously important.
I'm Lebo. I'm a classically trained architect. At Catalyst, I'm the Chief Technology Officer, where I work with my enormously talented team to try to build technology that really lowers the friction for anyone in any touch point along a construction project. For us, Foundry has unlocked speed, potential, and really opened our minds.
I think we, in fact, went in with a de facto attitude that we would build something on our own. We quickly realized that wasn't going to be a good case for us.
Okay, let's I want to see what this guy has to say, but I did a video on this a while back. Who are Palantir's biggest competitors? And the answer was internal companies, right? Trying to do it themselves. At the end of the day, Foundry is a software that's not like Google, right? You can't build your own search engine. You have to use a search engine that exists. So like a consumer wouldn't like build their own search engine. They would just use Google, right? There's no reason to do it themselves. Foundry is more of a SaaS offering, and a lot of SaaS offerings, companies think, well, if we could do it ourselves, we could save money on not having to pay the SaaS offering, or not have to pay for the SaaS subscription, and we could, just like keep it in-house and get it done. It's kind of like marketing, right? Like, why would you sort of like pay a marketing agency to do your marketing? Why don't you just hire a couple of marketers so that they can figure out your marketing and they can do it yourselves? You quickly start to realize that when you do things in-house, if you don't have people that are best in class at finding solutions for those things, it actually lowers productivity, it lowers the effectiveness, it lowers the efficiency by which you are able to operate things to get them to actually be meaningful to put out into the world. Like, you have to have a good solution at the end of the day. And that's kind of why you pay for services. That's the whole nature of paying for a service. Like, you could make food, or you could go to an Italian restaurant and get some fire Alfredo pasta. And it's like, you could make that Alfredo pasta, but going to that restaurant, you're going to get a much better experience with that Alfredo pasta, unless it's my mom, because she makes the best Alfredo pasta in the world. So the question simply becomes, are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to use a service that you know is best in class? And what he's saying here is, and what a lot of companies I think are in the next 5 years as Palantir scales to commercial are going to recognize is like, we know data is something that we need to optimize. We know we need to integrate everything into a centralized platform for the entire company to be able to work with. And if we can't do it ourselves because it's really not going to be a good idea, then what other service are we going to use? And that's where Palantir shows up to the door and says, hey, we got you.
We looked at Snowflake and some other big data options. I think it was probably March of last year, or potentially April, that our CTO, Libo Lee, sent me a video to the Foundry Demo Day 2021. And I probably watched it 3 or 4 times that night. And right away, we knew we had the solution that we wanted to implement.
That's interesting. So I haven't done this video yet. I'm still working on this video about Palantir versus Snowflake. So they looked at Snowflake and they were like, not really. And then they looked at Palantir and they're like, there's something there that I want to check out. So that's just an interesting insight that Snowflake wasn't the thing that hit the nail on the head, but Palantir was.
So construction's largely a spatial industry. There's millions of data points that exist spread across hundreds or maybe thousands of different data sets. What we want to do is create a data environment where those are all integrated together in order to allow design and construction teams to make better decisions based on the analysis behind the data that we're collecting and integrating.
Long term, our idea is that Foundry becomes an integral part of our sort of data interface, where we can assemble kind of a common gateway that expresses building logic and integrates supply chain realities so that anyone looking for answers to a potential building question can get it from a single source. Well, our team is really curious, and we just kind of set them loose on Foundry ever since we've gotten it. There's a small interdisciplinary team that's working on going from a BIM model in Revit all the way to a ontological simulation in Vertex. We feel that the vast majority of folks look at projects as a one-and-done effort, whereas we believe that construction is a part of the total supply chain, and by integrating information both upstream on the demand side and downstream on the supply side, that we can make much smarter decisions about what we build and how we build it.
In the future,
Interesting, right? So right there, he says that they want Palantir to become an integral part of the organization, and because they're a construction supply chain company, they really think there's a lot of data that has to be synthesized and analyzed when there is a building question, meaning when a random person in the company says, well, what if we did this? What if we used those set of bricks? Or what if we went to this location? Or what if we didn't use that much wood in this place? What would happen? And again, this is what I've been talking about. Palantir is kind of like that Google for companies, where it's a search engine because Google takes the world's data information and organizes it. That's what Palantir seems to be doing for all these other big companies. And, video after video, when we see these people talk about it, they're like, yeah, we want data to be optimized in one place. We want all of our information to be centralized so that when anyone in the company needs to search something or figure out an answer to a question, there are simulations that are able to be given as results and answers. And one of the words he says was part of the ontological vertex. I've done a couple videos talking about this, but ontology is the state of being, right? So he's talking about we want Palantir to be ontologically aligned with the organization, meaning we want the state of being of our data and our entire optimizations from A to Z to be shown via Foundry so that it gives us the information immediately. It is part of the backbone, essentially, of how the company operates at scale.
Future, we hope that we're viewed as an operating system for the construction industry supply chain. We can start to see construction delivery function a whole lot more like manufacturing does. And the result of that would be much higher productivity, more globally accessible first-class infrastructure, and lower cost projects. Foundry has unlocked a future that I don't think we saw coming for a very long time. It's unlocked the ability for us to think about our endeavor at probably 2 to 3 orders of magnitude scale greater than we originally did.
Wow. That's interesting at the end. What he said is that Foundry has unlocked the ability for them to think about the future of the company at 2 to 3 times order of magnitude than they did before. That's really interesting, man. Like, obviously it's a marketing video, so he has to say stuff that's good, like it's planned, right? I get it. But you think about this, like this is a real client that's apparently using Palantir, and they're saying, hey, this stuff actually does help, and we really want to integrated within the organization, and that the future for this construction supply chain company in terms of growth, because what does every company want to do? They want to grow. And in order to grow, you got to get faster, more effective. You got to get things out the door quicker. You got to optimize better. You got to just get things to be done as qualitatively strong as possible and as efficiently as possible. That's the nature of building a high growth company. And he's saying our future looks brighter and stronger and more prime for growth simply because we have software that is enabling the entire mission of the organization to be seen at a better scale. And that to me is like, again, that's why I've invested in the company. Like use cases like these are where I start to see Palantir software as something really integral and as a catalyst for Catalyst in order for them to actually scale and get bigger. So those are my thoughts on this raw reaction to this video. It seems like pretty much a lot of other videos where Foundry is being used to synthesize data. Organizations, we just did a video on Medicare. Foundry is helping this company help like give better Medicare recommendations because it integrates all their data in one place. Construction supply chain, obviously millions of different pieces of data. We're talking about actually building large structures and getting things to go from A to Z. That's a very hard thing to do. There's lots of billions of dollars at stake when you get these types of contracts from cities or municipalities or towns or companies to build projects for them when it comes to construction. So if you have software that is the foundational element for how you get that stuff to be done, you really do see a future to scale as a company, and you see a future to take the company to a next level. And I'll leave a video about a general video I did on supply chain optimization for Palantir. This was on their channel, and I just kind of analyzed what they do when it comes to integrating with supply chain in general, not these specific use cases that we saw in this video. And you guys can watch that and let me know your thoughts on it as well. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Mitt. Looking forward to reading your comments. I'll see you in the next one.